on YouTube. Griffin here, coming back to you all, of course, with another live stream, making sure everything's all set up the way that it needs to be and everything, woo, as I thought it was. About lost everything there. Like I said, we're kind of playing around with everything in terms of our stream setup. I apologize in advance. If there's any technical difficulties or anything like that. If you have any questions, of course, these are what these live streams are here for. We continue to have more and more of you hopping in, subscribing, and shout out to you all, by the way, that are continuing to subscribe. It feels like just yesterday we hit 1,500 subscribers. We're already, I think, last I checked, like over 1,800 now, like 1,820 or so. And just shout out to you all for, trying to build your own. Most of you all I know are joining for like the pest control business content specifically. And shout out to you all, regardless of what your business journey is, if it's the pest control business, investing, whatever you're joining the channel for, just shout out to you all for, just taking that leap of faith in terms of, trying to educate yourself. Like I always mention it on this channel, I just kind of document my own personal journey. I'm always interested to hear about how anybody else's journey is. And if you're wondering what I got in, before I get into what's even on the board first, these live streams, almost forgot where I was going with that. These live streams, like I always mentioned, they're completely, entirely for you guys. So don't hesitate whatsoever. We had a great live stream last night. If you've seen it on the channel, you're probably like, holy crap, 3 hours? Over 3 hours, as a matter of fact. Yeah, we had a very, very productive live stream last night. You all asked some great questions. It's going to take me a while to go through there and break it up into chapters for people who, of course, don't want to just sit through 3 hours of content, obviously. But ask away. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. They don't have to even be business related. It can be about, if you believe in work-life balance, if you have any questions about that, how I handle X in my life with the businesses, gloves are off. When we do these late night streams, gloves are off. I got my little, paloma. If you're Mexican, or not just Mexican, but Hispanic, you probably know what a paloma is, I'm sure. But amazing little drink. So gloves are off. If you have any questions, don't get too crazy, of course. But if you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate. And with that, we'll just kind of slowly get in. I got a bunch of your all's comments pulled up as well from like the last 2 weeks or so specifically, just to kind of get us started. And then, like I said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask away. And if you're wondering what I got up here, for those of you that follow me on either Instagram or TikTok, you have probably already seen this. And if you don't follow me on TikTok specifically, my link for my TikTok is down below. I post a lot of content there first, kind of like a dry run, essentially, see how it does. And then I'll go ahead and upload it to YouTube as well. So if you want to see content like first and foremost, the short form content, definitely check out the TikTok as well. But this was actually answering, I believe your name was Spencer. He said that he was a salesman. How's it going there, Kristen? How's it going, Bryson? Mute your mic. Unless it's on my end. Bryson, and I see we got like 3 of you all tuning in. Am I mute right now? It doesn't show on my end that I'm muted. It says, let me see. It shows I can mute my microphone, but it doesn't say I can hear you. Okay, cool. Yeah, if we ever have any difficulties or anything, don't hesitate to let me know. But y'all are saying that we're good, so we're good. And Bryson, I'll answer that question here in just a second. If you're wondering kind of what this is, we had like I said, a TikTok post, seeing this on Instagram Reels as well right now. Spencer, and it'll be on YouTube tomorrow as well. But he was asking, he's been doing pest control sales and was asking, how do you pick it was a unique question. That's why I wanted to address it first and foremost as well in tonight's live stream. shout out to you, Spencer, if you end up seeing this, but he was asking a very unique question that I never actually received before. He said, how do you pick a service area? Like, literally, if you had the opportunity to, go and just pick a market, like you had the ability to move, right? How would you go about doing that? So I made just a quick little short list because, again, it was for TikTok and YouTube Shorts, etc. It needed to be under a minute, right? So I just kind of listed kind of my fundamentals. Like, the first two are kind of obvious and they kind of go hand in hand, but the bottom two specifically are the most important. It's all important, but the bottom two are most important in terms of the analytics stuff. So, of course, when it comes to, if you have the ability, first and foremost, to pick your service area, first thing I'm going to consider when it comes to the pest control business specifically is what's your ability to move, first and foremost. Because why are you, of course, worrying about it if you know that, hey, I'm at least going to be in this area for our first, let's just say, 5 years of business, right? Don't even worry about it until, you're at that step, because it's one of two ways, right? Either one, you have the ability to move if you're looking to move and just completely uproot your family, your business, whatever the case may be, or you're looking for expansion, right? You have a business already and you're looking at potential areas of expansion, different markets, right? So don't focus on it if the ability just isn't even there. Like, focus on where you're at right now. If you have a business, focus on just blowing that up, tapping that as hard as you can. And then whenever you start to see the telltale signs that, hey, we've really tapped this market. I actually just found out Terminix in Plano, Texas, just recently, they're not going to have their Plano location anymore. They're moving up north towards McKinney, Texas, because from what I understand, they feel like they've kind of tapped that area, so they want to expand north now. Same idea, you want to make sure that you just absolutely beat that horse to death before you even begin to worry about that from the expansion side. Now, if you're ready to either expand or like I said, you're lucky enough to be young and you don't have any kids, family, etc., where you can kind of just uproot yourself before you even start the business, how much fun, what kind of funds do you have available, first and foremost? Are you broke? I'm assuming not. Most of you all have a little bit of something, I'm sure, but do you have very little money? Do you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up, not just for your business, but your personal life as well? What is your finances looking like? If they're good, obviously better odds of one, succeeding, right? But two, you're in a much better place to go ahead and make that jump. Pretty straightforward. And then when it comes to actually looking for our locations, first one, kind of obvious, we're looking for areas with booming populations, right? We are not going to be looking to, even with my business, right? Of course, Rowlett, Texas, where we're at in East Dallas, that market is not really going to grow a whole lot. If you know anything about Dallas, Texas, specifically East Dallas, Rowlett, Garland, etc. Rowlett, where we're at, it's kind of like a peninsula. It can't really grow much more. So when we're looking at expansion and we're focusing on our SEO efforts, stuff like that, marketing, we're not focusing on areas that are already kind of older, established, developed. We're looking at these communities such as Rockwall, Royce City, Texas, Fate, Texas, Lavon, Texas, etc. out east that are booming in terms of their population growth. It's just going through the roof. There's literally 300 homes going up, 1,000 homes going up, 2,000 homes going up, just hundreds of thousands of homes going up literally by the month. So that's what we look for. And then obviously, of course, if you're looking at different states, zero income tax. To me, it's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of people, for some reason, will still move to these crazy states that want to take, 10+% of not just your income from the, your own income from the business side, but you got to think in terms of the mind of an employee. Because if businesses are moving to these states, example, of course, Texas, Florida, those are the ones that stick out the most. You can actually Google, we could Google real quick, states with no income tax. So far, the states with no income tax: Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas. Wow, that's really not a lot. And Wyoming. So the ones that I know of for a fact that are booming are Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Nevada. Those are your ones that are the four that are really just kind of exploding all around. And you got to think, not just from the business side, but think about the employee side. You know, if businesses are moving to these states, who else is moving to these states? Employees. Who are your customers generally? Employees, right? They're the ones that are, middle class. They're going to be affording your service, that kind of thing. So wherever the businesses are going, which are these zero income tax states, that's where you would want to go if, like I said, if you're more of the person who hasn't even started your business yet, or maybe you have started your business and you're looking at expanding to other markets around the country, then, those are kind of the things that you're going to want to pay attention to. So hopefully that kind of, like I said, I just wanted to address that first because it was a very unique question. I never received that question before from anybody. So I wanted to address it from kind of those two unique perspectives on that. And let's see, what did you say down here, Bryson? Have you ever had, really tough customers, like crazy customers? Of course. So how do we deal with them? We try to be, of course, as reasonable, all the stuff that I'm sure you're already thinking of. We're trying to be the most reasonable, the most down to earth, just as calm, cool, and collected, the quote unquote bigger person as possible. And when all else fails, you have to essentially it is what it is. You have to kind of do the politest FU as possible is what I refer to it as. We had this recently, as a matter of fact. We had this very recently with a customer we did an exclusion job for. The husband, I could tell the whole time, did not want the service. The wife did. The wife was the one that actually called me personally back after about 2 to 3 months of quoting them. And she was like, he never really gave me much details on the quote. Can you send it to me personally, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, no problem. She said, let's do it pretty much immediately, like within a few days. And I had my, 1099 guy, and actually that was the first time I met my now first technician as well. He went out there with him as well for that job, and it was just a nightmare not from the wife side of it. She was great, the little amount that I actually communicated with her. The husband, pretty much as soon as my 1099 guy gets out there and my now employee, once they get out there, pretty much immediately, he's calling me up, hey, are you doing this? Are you doing that? Is there any way he can take pictures of every single, and we're talking every single thing that's being done? And I'm like, well, fortunately for me, but unfortunately for you, no, we can't do that simply because Jake, the 1099 guy, his phone, actually the camera is broken. Like he dropped it off a ladder at some point and it's just broken. He can't even take pictures. But like I tell everybody, I'm like, but like I explained to, once he gets done with everything, he'll literally walk you around, a very thorough walk around to explain pretty much everything that was done. He's very thorough. He's been doing this for like 1 to 2 decades. Like he's not going to miss anything. You're going to know exactly what was going on, blah, blah, blah. And, yada, yada, yada. It could be a very long story, but he was trying to, from the get-go, object about price and saying, you guys are charging a premium price. And I literally just kind of cut him off, not in a rude way, but there was like a pause, as he was saying that. And I literally just threw in like kind of the hammer essentially right from the get-go. I said, well, yeah, we charge a premium price because you're getting a premium product. If you wanted the cheapest service, you should have called somebody else at the end of the day. And if you want, he hasn't started yet, so I can tell him to leave if you want him to leave. Well, no, blah, blah, blah. He obviously wanted that product. He just didn't like the price and wanted to make sure to voice his opinion on that. So I could tell from the get-go, I was like, this dude's going to be kind of a headache, like you're referring to, Bryson. And I ended up getting his payment on file, believe it or not, because I end up actually going to the house, which is rare. I usually don't go to these homes or anything once I've already quoted it and everything. But I go over there because my 1099 guy needed some supplies. So I went over there and in person got the payment info, which was like pulling teeth from a kid with no numbing juice, is what I call it. And finally got the payment method. He's like, well, I don't want to be charged until the service is done. I was like, no, you're not going to be charged until the service is done. Like I told you 3 or 4 times now. I didn't say that, of course. I was like, no, reinforcing. Like I said, your job is to be the calm one. Like, regardless of how rude, loud, obnoxious, whatever word you want to use, regardless of how they get, you stay down here. If anything, what I noticed too is like lower your voice even. If they start to get loud, just lower your voice even more. Like get to the point where you're like whispering. I noticed it'll like literally psychologically kind of throw them off and make them kind of just naturally just kind of like unwind themselves a little bit. And that's what happened in this specific situation. This is kind of a part 1 of 2 because it was 2 days where this unfolded. He ended up, going and getting the card and okay, all's good. If you have any questions, let me know, blah, blah, blah. 1099 guy later on in the day. Keep in mind, this is a 100-degree day. Guy has, if you know anything about exclusion work, there was 17 roof returns on this house, which is a lot. Put in perspective, an average home has about, some have none, and then a lot usually have between like 2 to 8, somewhere around there. Occasionally you have like a dozen, but like 17 is like a lot of roof returns, a lot of work. It's 100 degrees. This was literally within like the last month or so, about 4 weeks ago, whenever we first started getting really hot down here in Texas. And, Jake, my 1099 guy, he's busting his ass, getting the job done, all that. And the guy doesn't really say a lot to me or him. I ask, like, I'm like more than thorough with my 1099 guy afterwards. I'm like, did you walk him around? Did he have any questions? Yeah, he asked. Okay, what all did he ask? And what'd you say? Like, I'm going, like, making sure there's no, like, potential errors or oops moments or anything, right? So, as far as I know, everything's good. Charge the card, send the receipt, all that stuff. The guy hits me up about 24 hours later. It was like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening the next morning. Or no, 2 mornings later, because old boy went out there Saturday to do the job. He hits me up Monday evening, so about 48 hours or so later. And he's like, hey, I forget exactly how he phrased it. Pretty much like he didn't get his receipt or when are you going to be by? Because we usually come by and do a follow-up for traps that we set in the attic. And he was like, I saw I was already charged. And I was like, when he said already charged, I was like, where's he going with this? Like, I had a feeling I already knew just from my experience with these type of customers. But I was like, no, we're going to be out at the end of the week to check those traps for you. Like I mentioned, again, when I was there on Saturday and 5 other times before that. But I was like, no, like I mentioned, we're going to be out later this week. And that's weird that, your receipt didn't send. I ended up just literally, little does he know, I texted his wife and asked, hey, what's your email? Because I knew he was BSing. So I wanted to make sure for a fact from her, since she was completely chill and honest with us the whole time, that she got the email. She responded to the email saying thank you when I sent the receipt. So from there I knew, like, hey, cut the BS, you did get the receipt for sure. And then this is when it starts to really get bad from here. He pretty much starts asking, why wasn't this done? Why wasn't this done? Blah, blah. And I was like, again, if you look at your documents that you signed, this is another thing, we always have people sign documents, especially when I have any type of feeling whatsoever, because your gut is never wrong at the end of the day. And you'll start to develop this gut feeling after enough of these customers like you're referring to, Bryson. You'll get a feeling pretty fairly on after you hear the same conversations, the same type of talk, speech, whatever you want to use in terms of wording. You'll start to build this gut feeling over time where you know, like, hey, this is going to be a headache. I may want to quote it higher than normal. I'm going to want to make sure to cover my ass, get as much signatures and pictures, whatever the case may be. Build your own little case, right? And that was the thing, was like I told him, I was like, if you look at the documents, we did everything and then some, because we always under promise, over deliver. That's always my main thing. If you watch the channel enough, you know that I mention that as well. Always under promise, over deliver. Even like with something as simple as general pest control. I always tell people, hey, don't be surprised if this stuff takes up to 2 full weeks to work. You may even notice an increase in activity at the beginning, you know, blah, 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 in which some of that's really true too, right? But I try to kind of, you know, make it seem like, hey, this is a process, blah, 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 like under promise. That way, whenever things end up being better, you know, usually things are always better, right? But you want to at least have them prepared for the quote unquote worst case scenario. That way, say the worst case scenario happens or whatever, they're kind of like, ah, man, okay, well, he did say blah, 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 and it's not an issue. But this guy, he was just an asshole, cheap ass, you know, every word that you could use in the book. He was looking for a reason to justify, like, you know, getting more out of us than what he paid for. And I told him, you know, hey, because he was mentioning, if you don't know what a freezer board is, feel free to look it up after the stream, but a lot of times gaps can form under freezer boards, and we seal a lot of those up, not completely because we don't want to overseal the home, but we seal it to where no rats, mice, stuff like that can get up into the attic from the freezer board area. And we used, because of also, like I mentioned, the 17 roof returns, we used like almost 20 tubes of caulk on this house. Crazy amount of caulk, almost like after tax $200 worth of caulking, because it's like $7 to $10 a tube anymore. And that was what I even mentioned to him. I was like, me and you were even on the same page in terms of we don't want to overseal the house. You even stressed to me, hey, please don't overseal the house. I know it can cause issues. Like, me and you were on agreement, and now you're wanting us to come back out and literally overseal the house. I was like, it's not happening. I was like, we used this much caulk. Like, we literally, it's not even about how much we used. It's just explaining the fact that, like, we definitely got everything sealed up the way that it needs to be. You know, I can come out there, like I said, this Friday or whatever day we agreed on, Thursday, Friday, to check the traps. And if everything's good, you know, just going through the usual, then you're going to be good to go. He just keeps going on and on and on. And I just finally told him, well, like I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, revert back to your documents that you signed and let me know if anything within those documents was not done and completed, and I'll make sure that it gets done. And he couldn't do it. He finally just, you know, left it alone. And yeah, it was just, you know, that's just one example, one of at least 1 to 2 dozen issue, quote unquote, customers. And like I said, you definitely have to, after you go through enough of them, like I said, you'll put enough safeguards in place to where, sure, you're never going to avoid them at the end of the day, but you'll at least protect yourself, where it's like the worst thing they could do is give you a bad review, which bad reviews don't really mean as much, believe it or not, as they, now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you need to have a 2-star, 3-star, even 3.5-star rating. Like us, we have nothing but 5s, which I always kind of jokingly say, I am shocked we haven't got 1 negative review by now. But I think it is because of the fact that even the customers who are a giant pain in the ass, I think deep down, whenever they actually really think about how everything unfolded, they're like, man, I was kind of hard on them. I was a jackass, you know, whatever, you know, the self-talk is, right? You know, because we deliver what exactly we say we're going to deliver. And as long as you do that, you're going to be completely fine. You're going to start to, like I mentioned even in last night's stream, which I don't know if you were here for that one last night, Bryson, but like in last night's stream, we were talking about how, you know, in my time in business, even I've started to kind of develop a, you know, not, you know, an old man type of vibe or anything, but just kind of a lower tolerance for BS, right? I'm just kind of like short, like not to the point where, like I said, I'm a DIK or anything like that, but you know, I'm just kind of more blunt and forward with people. Like I don't sugarcoat the stuff. I'm nice. I'm, like I said, the most relaxed one, but I'm still gonna be firm and do everything as we said and as what was agreed to. And from there, you know, like I said, worst they can do is leave you a bad review. Sure, if you charge them with a card or something, they could try to dispute the charge. But that's where, again, if you get all your documentation and you keep that, it'll take you 90 days to get the money back, unfortunately. And it's complete horseshit how this whole system works, how people can literally submit fraudulent disputes. We've had one ever, like a total fraudulent dispute on a service. It was like a $250 service, nothing major, but enough where you're like, that's inconvenient as hell, having $250 plus a fee from, you know, your payment processor come out for that. And it's like, to me, if it's found out that that dispute was BS, that customer should have to cover that dispute fee, which, by the way, we put that in all of our contracts now, that if you dispute a charge from us that is accurate, you are going to be charged, I forget what the percent is, something like 5% plus $50 for a fraudulent dispute. So, assuming, of course, that they didn't shut that card down altogether, right? But we haven't had that. But it's a process out here. I mean, when it comes to service work, you're going to deal with a lot of super cool people. And you're also going to deal with what I like to refer to as the scum of the earth at the end of the day. Like, we are going to deal with all spectrums of the earth, and, you know, we got to take the good with the bad at the end of the day. We can try to avoid them as much as we can. Like I say, you know, if you get that gut feeling, you can price their services super high to where it's like, you'd be shocked if they even go with you. But at the end of the day, if they take that bait, then, you know, you, like I said, you got to take that good with the bad. You got to take the money with the attitude, right? So hopefully that kind of makes sense. If you can relate to that, let me know in the chat if you can relate to that type of customer. I'm sure all of you can, for sure. And like I always say too, if you guys have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to let me know in the chat. It can be business related, it can be finance related. Gloves are off on these late night streams. It can be about anything, you know, work, the quote unquote, dare I say, work-life balance. I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in, you know, there's seasons for everything. But if you have any questions about anything, don't hesitate to shout it out in the chat. I also have questions pulled up on my laptop here that I've received. I've received a lot of comments and questions from you all over the last week or two. I'm going to get to some of those as well. Oh man, my neck is stiff. Let's see. Kristen said, I saw your video about the agreement, folks, for the year being more loyal than the month to month. Correct. Do you charge them for canceling early? I'm surprised folks are okay with the contract. Are you saying, do you charge like the month-to-month customers, I'm assuming, for canceling early? So that is the one, you know, quote-unquote upside to going with the month-to-month option is we don't do yearly, no, the yearlies. So our yearly customers, they do not, there's no like real cancellations. So how I explain that to people is because they pay for the whole year up front, right? So if they're paying for the whole year up front, like that's it. There's no like getting partial refunds, anything like that. What we'll do for people, because, you know, at least down here in Texas, people are like really, you know, outgoing. They'll kind of explain their situation and stuff. For example, we just had a customer literally about 2 minutes from me sign up with us last month who they're going to be moving up to Minnesota in, I forget, like 10 months, something like that. But they wanted to, you know, go ahead and commit. They're like, yeah, no, we don't want to do the month to month, like, but we're not going to be here for a year. Is there anything that you can do for us for that? And I was like, yeah, no, what we can do is we can, you know, your rate was essentially going to be 40 times 12. So to work with you, I'll just do 40 times 10. You know, the 10 is, you know, the months, of course. And then, you know, that just comes out to, for that example, is 400 plus tax. That'll cover you for that full 10 months, and then you'll be good to go. So we explain it very thoroughly. It's even, you know, in our, you know, quote unquote contract or whatever that, you know, there's no like refunds for that or anything. The only way they're going to cancel is either A, at the end of that term, because it's not on auto renewal. Some companies will do the auto renewal thing. We don't. I'm not even gonna worry about erasing that right now. We don't do like auto renewal. What we do is the system and Gorilla Desk will let us know that, you know, such and such is coming up this month, this week, whatever the case may be, and then we'll reach out and say, hey, your 1 year's coming to the end. If you want to renew, it'll be blah 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 blah, and just go from there. Or you can switch to month for blah blah blah, if that makes sense. Because with Big T, they have cancels all the time. Oh, it's all up front, not a month. Exactly. So yeah, if they decided, right, that they wanted to, and I'll get to your question here in just a second too, Bryson. So say this same customer here, right, decided she wanted to go ahead and not pay for the full year up front. That's totally fine, Mrs. Jones, in this, you know, example. We would just require, for her size home, 119 plus tax at the time of your first service. Then you would just pay that $40 plus tax per month going forward. So yeah, that's how that would break down. It's definitely different. So as a matter of fact, if you do the difference here, right, 40 times 9 in this case, because they pay 119 up front, right? So you wouldn't be charging them 40 over 10. You'd be charging 40 times 9 months because you got the 119 at that time of the first service. So if they decide to go ahead and, in this example, pay for the 10 months up front, they're saving the initial cost. So they would essentially be paying $40 for their first service, quote unquote, because you're getting it all for the year up front, and they're saving that difference. So they're saving $79, if that makes sense. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Because see here, you'd still have that $40 a month the next 9 months. Not that they're committed here. Here they can cancel any time. But again, we're going just based off of this example. 40 over 9, that's what, like 360 plus 119, that's 479. So yeah, they save $79 for, you know, that 10-month period, if that makes sense. So yeah, it makes our advertising very easy, because what I'll do with our advertising is hey, get your first service for $40 when you sign up for the whole year. Then when I get them, that's the lead magnet. This is what, if you guys haven't heard of Alex Hormozi yet, oh my gosh, if you haven't heard of him yet, what are you doing? Like, you should be watching him more than me. I'm just going to be blunt with you. He has a lot, he's a gym guy, big old buff guy, but the dude is a genius. He's got like, I forget what his net worth is, like 150 million or something like that. Crazy successful dude who's just barely older than me. Just crazy success. He's awesome. But he talks a lot about the lead magnets, and I think he even has a book, by the way, shameless plug for him, coming out about, I think it's actually titled like Lead Magnet or something like that, where your ad will literally write itself if you make it valuable enough, if it offers people a big enough incentive. So I'm going to get creative with our colors this evening. So say, for example, you know, because like I said, they're saying they're saving like $79. You know, you could phrase it multiple ways. You could do, say you're doing Google ads, Facebook ads, whatever you're running. You could run a different type of, what's his name again? Alex Hormozi. It's spelled, I'll put it up here for you all because it's kind of a weird name. Or not weird name, but you know what I mean? Like just a different name. Alex Hormozi. And his, oops, didn't realize I put that all the way over there. Alex Hormozi, and then his wife also has a YouTube channel. Her name is like Layla, I believe, Layla Hormozi. And then they have Mosi Media, where it's like both of them kind of together. Just a straight up power couple, like straight up couples goals, to be honest. But, like, I'll just show you guys straight up an ad that will literally run on Google that gets us quite a bit of leads. We'll say, so we're gonna do some black, red, and green for this. So I'll just put ad, get your first service for I don't say 40, as a matter of fact, to make it look even better, psychology, we'll say 39. When sign up for the year. And that makes us bank for the group. So how is probably what you're wondering as well. Let's see. Okay, I've seen his stuff. Just didn't know his name. Yeah, no, he's been going super viral lately. They're great. Yeah, I'll leave his name up there. I have zero type of affiliation with him or anybody. It'd be awesome to get to meet them someday and network with them, but I'll leave him up there just in case if you all want to look him up. So the 39 here, this is what is your lead magnet. So that is what people see and they're like, holy shit, that's a great deal. Because they know, of course, when they see other pest control ads, $79 your first service, $99 your first service, $50 off for the year. You know, these are the basic generic ads that you see all over pest control ads, right? When you see first service, $39, you're like, holy shit, that's a great deal, right? So naturally, you get them to call you, and then from there, it's your job, of course, to explain to them how that $39 works, how it is still a much better deal, because normally, like we said, you're going to be paying what? You can make up any number. Your whole job with an ad or any type of post that you make for your business is for it to be a lead magnet. As long as you get them to call you or submit a form, you know, whatever your form of communication is with the customer, your job from there is you can literally say whatever numbers you want to make that $39 happen. You can say, yeah, Mrs. Jones, so that $39 promo you see, how it works is, you know, by the way, before we push any forward, Mrs. Jones, do you happen to know square footage of your home? Because this is how we qualify their true price, right? We know roughly based on square footage what we're going to charge for the most part, right? So Mrs. Jones says, you know, home is 3,000 square foot, right? A lot of people have been saying, use 2,000 square foot for everything. Well, that's the average house down here, but we'll say 3,000 just for bigger numbers. Okay, Mrs. Jones, so how the $39 service works, like you've seen, you know, it's when you sign up for the year with us. How it works, Mrs. Jones, is normally our customers would have to pay $149 plus tax, or not $149, $139 plus tax. Like I said, you can literally make these numbers up per, you know, for the sale. It doesn't, they don't know what your pricing is unless if you know, they worked with you in the past or something, you tell them, you know, hey, yeah, Mrs. Jones, so normally it'd be $139 plus tax and then $50 a month for the year. But with that promo that you've seen right now, that is actually only going to come out to $39. You're saving $100 for the year, paying for the whole year up front, because instead, Mrs. Jones, you're just paying, you know, however the math works out, the 50 over 12 months, you know, it's $600 or what? Or no, not 600. Just under 600, like 589 or something like that. Because yeah, you take the $11 off that month, that first month. Yeah, something like that. Like 589 plus tax. Like I said, you can literally, the whole job of the ad is to be a lead magnet. That's it. From there, you make it work. You literally make it work. You do whatever. Like I said, you can literally make these numbers up. That's the beauty of it. Now, if you want to get crazy with it and be like, yeah, Mrs. Jones, it's normally, you know, $400 to get started. No, obviously there's a limit, right? But hopefully you guys kind of get what I'm saying. Bryson, you said, do you create all of your contracts or did you pay a lawyer to create them for you? So that is one cool thing about Gorilla Desk. They have a bunch of pre-made contracts for you. From there, you can kind of make edits with it. You can use ChatGPT to help you out even as well. Lawyers really don't have to get all that involved as long as you're using some type of software that comes with contracts that you can base like 95+% of it based off of. Obviously, you can't just plug in random stuff you know that isn't even legal to put in a contract to begin with, right? But their contracts are very good. And then also any contracts Gorilla Desk doesn't have our insurance company, who is it, Lipka? Yeah, Lipka has a bunch of contracts as well that they send us every year for pretty much any type of job that we do, from literally general pest control to bed bug to exclusion, like everything. They have contracts for that as well. How's it going? Trevin Jones, how's it going? Good evening. Do you run ads all year round? No. As a matter of fact, I would surprise you if you're watching right now, Trevin Jones. I rarely run ads, as a matter of fact. Most of mine is simply from posting on our Google business profile, our social media. And when I say social media, I mean more than just the basic Facebook and Instagram and all that. We run YouTube, we run TikTok, not a lot of TikTok really. We do run Instagram, of course. We run a lot of Nextdoor. What else? That's my brother. Awesome. Pest Routes has contracts too, I believe. We're going to call our business Jones Bros, but yeah, that's awesome. And I forget, what area are you all in servicing? But yeah, no, to answer your question, Trevin, we don't run very many ads. I've actually done a couple of calling myself out videos in terms of the fact that I've just simply increased our cost of living. Me and my wife have discussed it multiple times that a year from now, there's going to be a very, very harsh reality check in terms of our living. We've had our little bit of fun here at this house, and that's right, Oregon, in I'm East Georgia. Man, we are all over the map. Shout out to you all, by the way. Georgia, I know it's like, going on midnight out there. Oregon, it's what, about 8 or 9 o'clock, something like that. So we got the whole U.S. on the map. Where I'm at, it's 11:03 right now here in the Dallas, Texas area. But yeah, point being, back to my thing with running ads, had we not increased our lifestyle, which is why I beat it into your all's heads just in terms of it's not about necessarily like letting it get to your head, but don't put what's the old saying? Don't put the barrel before the horse, something like that. Don't think that just because you're getting a bunch of organic traffic like that, you know, even if it's 3 months in a row, all it takes is boop, one bad month, or what we consider a bad month, to be like, oh shit, we don't have money for advertising this month. And then from there, it's kind of a negative domino effect, because we were running our math before we moved here based on, man, we're getting like 40 leads, 50 leads a month right now. And then what a coincidence. Pretty much the month we moved into this new home, organic traffic dropped about 50%. Literally like smack dab, I think like 52 point something percent. Still good amount. Like we still got like 25, 35 leads in May, but compared to the previous 2 to 3 months, it just dropped big time. So do not put the barrel before the horse, so to speak, because don't assume that organic, don't assume any of it. Go based off of the worst case scenario that you're gonna sell 0. If you can't afford it based on selling 0, and we're talking 0 additional sales. Obviously, you need income, right? But I'm saying 0 in new acquisitions, like new clients. If you can't afford it based off of 0 new sales, you can't afford it. That would be my biggest word of advice in general. And that is why we haven't been putting much into ads lately. We're slowly but surely getting there. Plus, we're hiring this technician right now. That's also costing us obviously a big chunk of money that could be going towards advertising as well. But we are still advertising. It's just organic in terms of all of the posts. We're doing the same things like what I just showed you right here with the lead magnet, with the $39 offer. And you could even say free. That's the other thing. Have you ever heard of pest control for free? Imagine the calls on that. But my point being, you can run this stuff organically, but you have to have the traffic, the eyeballs that are actually going to see it. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to have to run those paid ads, which is why we stress so much on the local SEO, on-site SEO, all of that stuff to, get us as much organic eyeballs as much as possible. It's after midnight doing... Sorry about that. I don't know why she's trying to FaceTime me at 11 o'clock. It's kind of weird. I'll have to hit her up here in just a little bit. It's after midnight doing my business sponging. This is a break for me before I go back to training stuff for apprehend. Good old training, right? I'm trying, man, it's hot in here too. I would have the fan on, but it shows up kind of crazy shadowing above me. I'm trying to start mine in California. Got California in the house. We got a bunch of you on the West Coast. I guess that makes sense because it's only like 8 or 9 o'clock out there. Awesome. And then, do you do door to door? How did you go? No, we've actually done 0 door to door. I know that's gonna sound crazy, right? 0? Yes, absolutely 0. Why? I hate knocking on doors. Not gonna lie to you. I've done it, like I may have knocked on 1 door my entire life. I don't even like hanging my door hangers, as a matter of fact. Like I'm scared, and that's me. That's on me. If I wanted to, I could literally go knocking on hundreds of doors tomorrow. I mean, just in my little block right here, I probably got multiple. I know in our neighborhood alone, it's literally about 10,000. And because our neighborhood is huge, I mean, we're talking like a whole town in this neighborhood alone. But it's just something that I literally said from day one. Like I was like, I will grow this business anyway, but through door knocking, at least in the early stages. And the main ways that I grew my business to 6 figures, I'll just kind of list it for you here real quick. I'm sure Bryson has kind of heard some of these already. Make sure I got this whiteboard set up. So I'll just put here, path to 100K that first year. We did Google LSA. That was literally about 62% of our new starts. Crazy amount the first year. Now, I will say with the Google local service ads, this was when it still hadn't quite caught on yet. A lot of the big companies were not doing it. This was back in 2020. Google LSA now is like massive. The big companies are like going all in on it. It was that. It was a little sprinkle of Google ads. Had I known what I know now, how many times have y'all heard me say that? Had I known what I know now, my Google ads would have performed a lot better as well. But with that, I would say that was maybe, we'll call it, I forget the exact percentage. I want to call it something around like 15%. So now we're up to like 77% of our customers that we got. And then the rest was organic / referral. I feel like I'm spelling referral wrong. Oh yeah, no, I'm not even gonna include our door hangers because we literally got like 1 or 2 customers off of that. Let's see, so that would be what, about 23%, right? Yeah, that sounds about right. About 1 in 4, 1 in 5 customers. And when I say organic too, by the way, organic is, you know, it's not just literally like, ta-da, they found us, right? It's through the Google business profile, as well as, you know, Facebook, as well as Nextdoor, with Facebook specifically, groups. Groups are highly underutilized by pest control companies. We get, even to this day, I mean, if business is slow, I'll start searching through a bunch of groups that I'm in. I join all these like local neighborhood type of groups and stuff. And then from there, I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, there's a search bar in the actual groups where you can search for posts with certain like keywords, questions, whatever. So I'll just literally go in there and type the word pest or rodent or, you know, just different type of, you know, keywords for pest control, right? And see, you know, hey, has there been anything within the last 24 to 48 hours that's been posted? And I'll even go back as far as a week. I don't go more than a week just because I know there's like 0 chance of them still needing somebody. But even on the ones that are about a week back, I'll be like, hey, I know you probably found some, because down here, as soon as somebody asks for a referral and stuff, people are just like, just literally listing them off one by one. That's why I say referral gets pretty big down here, at least. Every market's different too, of course, but I'll just say, you know, in the case of something like a week back, I'll be like, I'm sure you may have already found a company by now, but we're a local company here. If you have any questions, I don't even like phrase as me trying to sell myself. I'm just phrasing as me being here to help. I'm like, but if you ever have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to text or call me directly. My number is blah, blah, blah. My website is X. Send it out. And a lot of times by doing that, by the way, people will also do that same thing. They'll like search for, you know, pest control companies within the group. And I will literally get at least one to 2 people a month at the minimum, maybe even as many as 4 or 5, who they will reach out to us. We have a call tracking system, of course, that lets us know where every call is coming from. And if it doesn't go off, I know this came from something that I posted, not Google Business Profile, but this either came from a Facebook group or Nextdoor specifically. Because if it doesn't ding, you know, I don't have a tracking number on, you know, every single post or comment. Obviously, like a different phone number, bill would be astronomical, right? And they'll literally tell me, because I'll say, because I know right away, again, that they had to have found us through referral or something. I'll ask them, and how'd you hear us, by the way? Oh, I was looking for, you know, referrals on pest control companies in such and such group, and you guys were highly recommended. I saw your comment, and then there you go. Easy as that. So yeah, no, it takes a lot of work. The organic game takes a lot of work. So it all takes a lot of work, right? I mean, I could say that about every single one. Google LSA back in my beginning days was very easy, very cheap, very high converting. Now it's kind of so-so. Usually if you're first getting started, you're going to get the best rates. They're going to push you to the top of the list, try to hook you in essentially thinking that it's the best. So definitely utilize it early on. but use it like it's late night. Fuck it, I'll say it. Use it like a hooker. Use it, dump it, move on. It is what it is. Use it for what it's for. Use it while it's like a cheat, and then move on. And then from there, Google Ads, basic, stuff we always got to do, right? At least as much as we can. You definitely want to know how to optimize your ads, use the best hooks, use the best call to actions, all that type of stuff. And then, of course, like we said, this is where we literally spend 90% of our effort right here. This has actually gone from here to here, all the way up to the top. We've taken this number, 23%. It's now, I was actually just looking at this in last night's stream, I believe. Let me pull it up for you guys. I have it right here. Reports, new customers, organic, like Google. So across Nextdoor, Google are two at the time, because we did have 2 Google locations at the beginning of the year. We only have 1 now. But let's see, that is 4.9 plus 3.5, that's 8.4 plus 55, that's 63.4 plus 1.4, 64. So that has actually gone up to 64 point, we'll just call it 65 because it's 64.8%. I mean, that's 65% now. Where this has actually gone, if you guys can see it, yeah, you can. This has actually dropped down to less than 5%. And Google Ads is also, what is Google Ads actually? Google Ads is also right at 5%. It's actually just below 5%, but we'll just call it 5% because that's pretty much what it is. So we have what? 30% outstanding. Where are the other ones at? Oh, we have referrals. We have our Chamber of Commerce. We have our website. That's 27% as well. But like I said, this is all actually going to be changing just a little bit. Nothing major. When I say 27% to our website, that is because for the longest we had our website where we couldn't track the specific page to know if they were coming from our Google Business profile, because of course when you set up your Google Business profile, you have a website link that you can put in there, people can click on. For the longest, we couldn't tell, hey, were they clicking on the website from GNB, or were they finding us in the organic actual Google search, like below the, the map pack. Now we can, so that's going to be changing, but technically right now, 27% is going towards the website. I got a feeling that's about 50% of that. So this may even be as high as 78%. So, yeah. Did you trademark your business name? No, I didn't, but I may at some point. Are there other companies? So no, the closest that there is to my company is Preferred Pest Control. And theirs isn't trademarked either. I've actually debated multiple times switching from Preferred Pest Management to Preferred Pest Control, but we just have such a strong brand already at this point, and a lot of people actually do call us Preferred Pest Control, but the closest actual Preferred Pest Control is also like 4 to 5 hours away from us too, so it doesn't actually, directly affect us either. Funny enough, my grandfather's pest control business name up in Missouri is Preferred Pest Control as well, but yeah, no. As of now, no. Bryson has done door-to-door pest sales for 7 years. So we're planning on knocking to say exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you're good at it, I mean, that's one thing that I wish I had done in terms of, when I spent my time at other pest control companies, was spending more times on the sales, like even transferring, or not transferring, but switching positions from pest tech to like a salesman where I would be forced to like knock on doors and stuff like that. Because, yeah, if I had that background, I would definitely knock on doors, definitely utilize that, right? Let's see, you'll be the designated tech following him in the truck and servicing. There you go, there you go. Was only running ads starting out enough to keep you busy. So yeah, no, as a matter of fact, I'll give you kind of our quote unquote, month to month. I'm curious actually, how far back can I go? I know we were only with Gorilla Desk since early, like the beginning of 2021, and we started our business towards the end of 2022. So, I went all the way back to 2020. Let's see, there we go. January 2021 to January 31st of 2021. Update. So we'll just start based off January 2021. I could try to pull up my Square for you all as well. I didn't start my business until November of 2020. I'll look to get that pulled up for you all as well. Let's see, Square Online. But yes, it did. We gained traction very quickly. I'll put it that way. Let's just put it this way. Like I said, we started in November of 2020. By March of, man, it's trying to send me a code. By March of 2021, I was busy to the point, I have to type this code in, 592. I was busy enough to where I was actually having to pause my Google local service ad. And if you don't know what I mean by pause, there's just a little pause button where you can go in there and like shut the ad off. And I was having to do that just because from Google local service ads alone, there was one month we had as many as like 62 leads just from Google local services. We spent that month like 18 to 9. I think actually, no, that was the month we spent like $2,100 on, Google ad, or technically it is Google ads. It's just local service ads is what they're called. So yeah, no, we were definitely very busy. Man, where in the hell is my sales? I have both of them pulled up for you guys. Let's see. That's awesome. Definitely good ROI. Yeah, no, that was actually, I think, either February or March was our first $10,000 month, like $10,000+ month was either February or March of 2021. I can at least go over the Gorilla Desk ones to start, just to give you all kind of an idea. So January we did, where are my sales? Completed, oh, these are my new customers. Oh my gosh. It's showing all my new customers that I got that month, but I didn't hit total sales. So give me just a second. I'll go back to 2021 again. Take just a second. January to the end of January, update. So yeah, January we did just pretty much right at $1,100. That was our second full month, because in November we really didn't get started until damn near Thanksgiving. And of course, Thanksgiving, right around that time, you're really not getting any calls that entire week of Thanksgiving. It was very brutal in November, not gonna lie. I mean, I think we sold like maybe $300 or so, which, like I said, I'm trying to get that pulled up for you guys as well, because we transitioned from Square to Gorilla Desk completely like late December, early January. But yeah, we did right around $1,100 January, and then the next month, February, get that pulled up. February, okay, so February actually, it had to have been March then. Yeah, February was a slow, oh yeah, that's right, we had the ice storm, duh. That makes sense, yeah, because we weren't doing exclusion or anything yet, and I was still learning how to price stuff right, and yeah, it was crazy. But no, in February we still did see a solid boost. We went from just under 1,100 to over $1,600 overall, and then March, like I said, that's where it was just like March and April, things just really started kind of taking off. March, we hit right at $10,000, to be exact, $9,945. So I feel like I remember that because I feel like I was like, damn it, I was so close or whatever, just mad that I didn't hit it. And then April, that month I know for sure. Yeah, April we hit $13,074.80. So that month we just blew it out of the roof. And I thought there was one customer that like didn't pay that month. Oh no, that's April of 2023. In terms of the non-payment, April 2021, we did collect all of our money. I see right here, we didn't have no outstanding payments. We had, the main thing that helped us was when, of course, termite swarm season started. And yeah, I mean, $1,500 job was in there. And I apparently forgot to charge her sales tax, so that kind of sucks. Beginner mistake, right? But yeah, let's see. Try to see how many termite jobs we had that month. We had a termite station set up for $750. We had, let's see, had a couple rodent station setups. I don't know what this, oh, she paid for the year. A pest control for the year for $465. That was when I very first experimented with people paying for the year. Didn't do it for a long time after that. Just really started doing that this past year or so. Another termite job for $1,400. I also didn't charge him tax. I don't know what I was thinking. I was pretty much eating their sales tax for them. Our first exclusion job for $1,300, another exclusion job for $1,600. So as you can see, those bigger jobs were definitely, helping big time for sure. Yeah, it definitely just went boom, just literally took off as spring came around. And as we explained here, I mean, I just added up like a quick 6,000 to 7,000 of it, if not more, was not recurring income. That's the only downside. You have to try as hard as you can. That was one thing that I wish I could go back and redo, is I had a lot of like one-time services. And don't get me wrong, I still have a lot of one-time services today. We have, as a matter of fact, a one-time service next Tuesday. When people are moving, like the one we got next Tuesday, like I always stress, don't blow the obvious sale. If they're literally telling you, hey, we're gonna be moving, don't be the type of company that is like, well, we don't do one-time services. Like, why? That's easy. They're not going to call you back in terms of, you don't have to worry about a callback because they're literally moving in this example. Why would you not go ahead and go out there for, I think we told her 200 plus tax, no guarantee or anything. She's not even really having much issue. She just wants to, make sure that the next homeowner is going to be, taken care of or whatever before they move out. Easy money. Why turn down the sale? But my point of what I was getting at though is if there's no legit reason for them to not be doing continual service, try to get that continual service. And like we said, what's the easiest way to do that? I have a very, very, very good lead magnet, aka deal, that they just can't pass up on. Because what sounds better? All right, Mrs. Jones, I understand, totally understand. If you want a one-time service, like, always agree. Agree. It's not the customer's always right. I can't stand that bullshit. Don't be a kiss ass, but agree with them. Okay, I hear you. Yeah. No, Totally understand, Mrs. Jones. You want a one-time service. That's no problem. The good thing, Mrs. Jones, is our one-time service comes with a 30-day guarantee. So for 30 days of protection, you're going to pay, let's do the 3,000 square foot home example. You're going to pay $225 plus tax, or you can make it whatever price you want. Obviously, this is just my example. You're going to pay $225 plus tax for 30 days of protection, or Mrs. Jones, you can get 365 days of protection, and that'll cost you, this is where you're going to give a little. My usual price, $50 a month over 12 months, that's $600, right? But I want this to sound like a pretty good deal. So I'm going to give her a good introductory rate. Again, it's give and take. It's the power of negotiation at the end of the day. Because which would you rather have, $225 or the number that I'm about to explain to you? Now, obviously, you don't want to go too low. Don't discount yourself. We're not discount pest control or anything like that. But, to some degree, we are negotiating, right? So usually, for someone who is easy to sell, they're literally telling us that, hey, I want continual pest control. That's a lot of customers. Go ahead, get paid on that, right? Or, even start trying to level up your sales game and go after that $99 to $200 plus a month plan that we've talked about on this channel. But this is like kind of your hardball customer who's saying, no, I just want one time. I don't even do pest control usually, blah, blah, blah. We're talking the customer that's potentially could be a pain in the ass, but they're telling you, hey, I just want a one time. That's totally fine. I agree with you. If you want that, 30 days, $225, that's it. Or if you decide that you do want 365 days of protection, right now, just for you, Mrs. Jones, we can literally do that for $495 plus tax. That's normally $599 plus tax for the year. So you're saving over $100, which is literally almost half the cost of your 30-day pest control coverage. How does that sound? Because you got to think, a lot of these people who are going after just a one-time service, they have usually been fucked by somebody at some point. They have a slimy feeling. They feel like we're slimy. Like they usually have had a bad experience at the end of the day. Somebody pissed them off. So now you, unfortunately, have to play recovery from somebody else's fuck up. So if you want them long term, you're going to have to give them a better price just to get them to even consider it. And then on top of that, you're going to have to make sure to take damn good care of this customer. Because guess what? After that first year, are we going to charge her $495 again when we know good and goddamn well that should have been $599? Absolutely not. After that first year, we're bumping that up to $599. And if at that point, Mrs. Jones doesn't think we're worth it, then okay, she can move on. I don't care at that point. Like we have, at that point, after the 365 days, you should have earned Mrs. Jones' trust, credibility, quote unquote, whatever word you want to use. She should like you. Any feeling she had about the previous company or companies that screwed her over or made her not like pest control in general, where she only wanted the one-time service, that should be long gone, and she should be in love with you. She should be practically not even worrying about the price or anything at that point, which is why we push for yearly payment. Our yearly payment customers, they don't go anywhere, because after we literally knock them off their feet with the best service they could ask for, unless if they're moving or something crazy happens, right, they're not going anywhere. Now, obviously, you can't get crazy with that price increase. You can't take her from $495 to $995, right? But if you know that your normal price is $595 and you're giving it to her for $495 that first year because you know that, she's kind of a hard one to get on the recurring. Again, which would you rather walk away with? $495 plus tax for the year, $225 plus tax for the year. And I know what some people are going to say too. They're going to say, why? But still, you're discounting your product, you're discounting your service by, you know, $100 or whatever, right? Let's do the math, right? $495 for the year. We're going out there 4 times total, including the first service. That's gonna be what, 120, just under 125. Well, we'll just call it 124 for easy math. 124 per quarter, right? You know, if you're going based off of the quarterly treatment plan, right? It comes out to 124, you know, I won't even say per quarter because some people might get confused. We'll just say per service because you're only going out there 4 times a year. Maybe 5 if, you know, there's an issue. I always like to price in 1 callback a year on top of that. So let's even break it down even further. Let's say we have to go out there 5 times, right? So it's pretty much, we'll just call it, it's right under $100, right? Like $99, something like that. We'll just call it 99 per service. Because again, we're pricing in 1 callback. Hopefully you guys are with me. If you have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to let me know. So again, we're pricing in 1 callback. I always like to price in 1 callback per year. My number suggests more like 0.35 callback per year, but again, we're just sticking with simple math here just to show you all this example of why it's not a bad idea just to give that discount the first year. This is how Terminixes, Orkins, etc., Aptiv even though I hate them, they have mastered this type of model. So $99 per service. This is where knowing all of your chemical costs and stuff come in to help you. Of course, you have, I think Kristen, if she's still in here, she brought up, you know, of course, employee costs, wear and tear on your vehicle, all that type of stuff. Let's say, all in all, we've got, let's see, our chemical cost is usually around, at the bare minimum, $5 to $6, at the max around 10 usually. So we'll just go ahead and go with the highest number. I want to do worst math possible just to prove a point here. Or not worst math, but worst numbers in terms of cost per chemical. So $10 for chemical. We'll just say $20 for technician, which is very high. So we're at $30. Wear and tear on vehicle, we'll factor in another 10. We'll just say $40. So we have our 99 minus 40. And again, the callback too, right? Are we doing everything that we do on a reg on a callback? Hell no. We're not using the same chemical. We should be using a lot less, right? But again, I want to do based on worst case scenario. So worst case scenario, you're making $59 per service times 5. It comes out to 250. What's 9 times 5? 45. So about 295. 295 on the year. That is what about is it 60% margin roughly? I don't have a calculator because of course I'm doing this stream live for you all. What is it, 50? I know it's over 50. Is it 60? Somewhere around 60. 60% NOI versus, if you have photograph memory, that'd be a good time for it. Mr. Funny Man tonight. So $295, I'll put it up here. Oops. $295 for the year of NOI. And if you don't know what NOI means, it's just a fancy term for net operating income. Now let's go and say that we didn't even worry about trying to sell her on going ahead and doing the full year. We just went ahead and just caved in and told her, okay, yeah, you know, we'll do it for $250, right? You know, $250. What did we say our cost is again? Was it $40? I forget. 15, 20, so 35. I forget what it was. Was it 35 or 40? We'll just say 40 for easy numbers, easy math. We'll just label it service cost. Oh, but guess what? Didn't even factor in. Yeah, I'm here. Awesome, awesome. We didn't even factor in. Wow, that went really far. We did not factor in our costs for customer acquisition. So, technically we could take this off of each one. We're not going to do it just for, again, kind of simple math here. But you know what? We will, as a matter of fact, because this math is going to keep breaking down on top of that. So we'll just say based on my average cost per customer acquisition, mine, again, is very, very, very low because I stress so much on organic traffic that we virtually spend no money in advertising. I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but we spend such little money, it comes out to less than $100 a month on average. There are months where we definitely do like $500 or whatever, even $1,000, but over the whole year, it comes out to like $2,000 a year. So you're talking $100 to $200 a month average. So we'll just say, we'll call it $20 for the acquisition. So $275, and this is the first year. Let's see. And your cost is definitely going to be higher, more than likely, because it takes a while, like I mentioned, to build up the organic stuff. But that'd be $190. So that is an $85 difference, right? Now, after the first year, like we said, first year, second year, the price now goes up to $595, like it should have been to begin with. But again, we're trying to help her out, earn her trust, earn her, the credibility that she likes us, that kind of thing. Our costs are going to be, $40? So, yeah, that's right. Yeah, minus $200 for the year and just costs. $395. So now we got $395. That's an ugly ass 9, but now we got $395 out of her for the year. So after 2 years now, we got $570 of profit versus the measly $190 off of the one-time service. And by the way, even if she does come back for a one-time service, which does happen, I would say about 1 in 3 to 1 in 4 will come back, say once a year, something like that, you're still never going to catch up. Even if they do come once a year, you're never going to catch up because the difference is 85. Well, no, actually it ends up being, after the first year, a $205 difference. So they would have to call you out 3 separate times a year. Is the math kind of starting to make sense now? Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Do you all kind of understand? This is in terms of the general pest control, why we're willing to be, aggressive, dare I say, with our first year pricing. I've been closing a lot more sales, especially yearly, in terms of people locking in their rates and stuff for the year versus them paying us month to month. Ever since how we used to do it, I think you said something, Kristen. I'm in such a large service area due to being rural. 59 per service is a waste of my time. I'm in a very large service area too. I mean, east to west, I go about from if I were to go furthest east or furthest west, it's literally 2 hours of drive time. If I were to go from like furthest southeast to furthest northwest, it's probably about 90 minutes roughly a drive time. Now, we do have very good route density to where we're able to kind of, make the driving not bad, if that makes sense. But, and even if, say, we have somebody who's out here and is like, hey, I need a call back, sometimes they just gotta wait a few days. I mean, we never make anybody wait more than like a week at the most, but, we're not gonna go an hour and a half out of our way. It just doesn't make sense. But our mileage is a lot less. Let's see, 2 to 2.5. Yeah, so a little bit more. But yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. How we used to do our intro pricing on the yearly is we pretty much didn't offer a deal at all. How it worked is say, going back to that 3,000 square foot, $50 a month, or 49, whatever you want to say, 50 for easy math. We would say, okay, first service is $149 plus the $50 over 11 months, because of course this pays for the first service, this pays for the remaining of the year, which I think I technically have the structure of this math equation wrong, but stick with me here. That comes out to $550 plus $149. That equals, what I say, $550, $650. So that'd be $699 for the first year. That's how we used to structure it. Where now we just pretty much remove that and we say $50 over 12 months equals, $600. And again, from the psychological of sales and marketing, we'll go ahead and just drop that off and say $599. Because people are, I'm going to be nice, they're strange about the psychology of sales and whatnot. $599 looks better than $600, even though it's a difference of just $1. Dropping it from this to that, sales have just through the roof in terms of people going with that. And the other thing too is it's a lot easier to go up on the pricing on this, because when I tell them that, especially during times of high inflation like we're dealing with right now, the beauty of, it's a double-edged sword. Obviously, inflation sucks, but the beauty for us business owners with the inflation is now that we've been reminded of how crazy inflation can be, for the next, I'm calling it now, for the next 5 to 10 years, you'll be able to raise prices without most customers really batting an eye. Of course, you'll have some that are just pains in the ass, but as long as you're not jacking them up too crazy, we're going to deal with very little pushback in terms of price increases. I've already been raising prices the past 2 years, and I've only had maybe, I could count on one hand the amount of cancels due to price increases. And if they're going to cancel, so be it. The math ends up working out to where it's better to let them cancel anyways. But you raise this to say $625 or, whatever number you want to raise it, $649. That's kind of pushing it, in my opinion. That's like a 10% increase. But again, depending on inflation that year, it may make sense. They're a lot more receptive to it, just from my experience. But yeah, no, this one here works a lot better. Again, this is just from my experience. Let's see. How many miles you put on your work truck a year? That's a good question. I want to say this past year it actually wasn't too bad. I thought it was a lot more than it turned out to be. I think it was somewhere right around 20, was it 21 maybe? I would have to look at like my tax documents, because they just actually sent me the copy of them all and whatnot recently. But I want to say low 20s if I recall. It really was not bad at all. Very low compared to what I expected. And I will say this, early on when you start your company, you're obviously going to run a lot more miles because, you know, you'll have, especially if you're running like Google ads in a wide business area, service area, which I don't suggest as well. I could do a whole separate stream and video about that for you guys, why you should hyper focus your marketing to, you know, build routes. It can be more expensive, of course, but it pays off in the long run. Best part of it, though, is we live right in the middle of it, so as long as we can coordinate. Exactly. That's kind of similar to me, in all honesty. I don't live in the middle. I kind of live more east of mine, just barely, but it's not anything crazy. With Big T, I run 100,000 miles a year. I believe it. One of my cousins, younger cousin, works for them up in Missouri right now as well, and he was running a pretty rural route, and he would have to leave his house as a pest technician. He'd have to leave, if he didn't leave his house by like 6 a.m., he would get, if he left his house at 7:30 a.m., he wouldn't get to his first stop a lot of days until like 10:30 in the morning. Crazy. He would have a 2 to sometimes 3 hour drive to his first service. I mean, it was great. Now he's in kind of more of a, still rural per my expectations, but it's actually in the quote unquote city of like Columbia, Jeff City, that kind of thing up there in Missouri. And he, it's not nearly as bad now for him, thankfully for him, from what I heard recently. But yeah, route density is another thing that we could go on for, shoot, an hour plus easily. When it comes to, and I'm not going to go like too deep into it or anything, but by the way, I just learned tonight that my eraser was a magnet, and it just like had me sitting here playing with the damn thing for like 5 minutes. I was literally just seeing if I could wham, slam it up there like a freaking kid or something. But yeah. Anyways, in terms of our marketing, whenever we do run, you know, Google ads, Facebook ads, the beauty, and if you guys want me to, you can let me know in the chat. If you want me to do kind of like, you know how we do our videos where I have the webcam, there's like a little little box of me in the corner, and I'll do kind of like a tutorial type of video kind of. I can do one for you guys, both for Google ads as well as Facebook ads, to show you how we would set up specific targeting of I mean, we're talking, you can literally target as low as like a half mile to 1 mile radius of a location if you guys wanted to. You could do it by zip code, you can do it by neighborhood, you could, I mean, it's, especially with Google specifically, or is it Google, one of them, Google or Facebook, you can get, Nextdoor is getting that way as well. I will say, Nextdoor, if you think Facebook is freaking mostly for brand recognition, Nextdoor is 150% for brand recognition. I've gotten more off Nextdoor from just simply commenting on somebody's post than I did from the actual ad itself. It is just total waste of money, but it is cheap. So if you're looking for brand recognition and impressions, and you have the extra, you know, because they start as low as like 30 to 50 bucks last I seen, for a whole month. So it's like, if you got an extra 50 to 100 bucks laying around, why not go ahead and do it, right? Let's see. Trevin, how many customers do you have now, and how many can a single tech handle per year? That's actually a good question. So there is some nuance to that. There's, of course, how many do you have in terms of recurring? Then there is, you know, how many have you like serviced for, you know, like this year, right? In terms of recurring revenue, to kind of answer the second part of that question, if you're looking at like building the route for a technician, my rule of thumb is one, of course, how, when we're talking about the route density, like how many customers per mile or whatever, if your techs are going to have an average of I would say under 10 minutes of drive time per stop, where they're able to run anywhere. I'm never going to have my guys run more than like 12 to 14 stops a day. I'm just not. I ran 14 to 20 stops a day, if not more. There were some days I did like 22 at Terminex. In this heat out here, I'm never going to expect that of my technicians. I even told my wife, I was like, keep me grounded. Never let me become that boss that just runs people's ass into the dirt. Like, just don't let it happen. Make me sell the business, before it happens. But it depends on that as well. But my rule of thumb, based on, again, my area, is you could expect between right around, if I were to put an average on it, I would say 500, if we're doing quarterlies now, 550 to maybe 600 customers per year. So if you're breaking that down, let's just say 600 customers. And these are those, again, quarterlies primarily for this example. 600 divided by 4 is what? What is it? 150 regs. So at Terminex, where I was working, we would run about 200 to 250. Usually about 200 to 230. But there were months that, there were some guys running like 300 when they weren't even like keeping track of how many stops they were doing. Now, from what I hear over there, they're capping them at like 15 a day or something, which good. I mean, that's a good start. 15 is pushing it still. Like I said, 12 to 14 is ideal to me. But why do we do 150? Because 150 is kind of a perfect number in terms of production to profit, in terms of profit per technician. First of all, based on, again, our rule of thumb that we want to assume no sales. And it also, it's a light enough schedule for when we do get sales, the technician has room on their schedule to run the initials, run extra services, whatever the case may be. If we start getting slammed with termite work, whatever the case may be, we have flexibility at right around 150. If you really wanted to, you could push this up to 175, but you're starting to kind of, in my opinion, push it. Once you get this up to 175 to 200, in my opinion, it's time to hire another technician. If they're running more than 175 to 200 regs a month, in my opinion, it's time to hire a technician. Again, these numbers are going to vary based on average drive time, primarily average drive time between stops. For me, our average time for drives is between as little as 1 minute. I mean, I have some that it'll literally pop up walking distance because it's like across the alleyway and it's showing that like I'm in the alley when I'm not. And then I'll have some that our furthest one right now is way out in a town called Flower Mound, Texas, which if he wasn't paying us 130 plus tax a month, we wouldn't even be doing. Plus, he's a great customer, awesome dude. So when people are cool like that, you're willing to do more for them. Again, Google local service adds customer on top of that. So again, goes back to where we were talking about gearing your ads towards specific locations, something I didn't know a lot about first getting started. I just wanted customers anywhere, right? But if your drive time is, over 10 minutes and say your average drive time is 20 minutes or 30 minutes for some reason, then of course these numbers are definitely going to be around this or lower. And then, like I said, how much are you willing to make your technicians work during the day? There's a lot that goes into it, if that makes sense. But the primary thing, of course, is we want time for initials, extras, and rainy days, that type of stuff. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. I was answering Trevin's question. Got an error trying to activate local service stuff. Okay, that's interesting. It'd be easier to break it down monthly, I think. 200 stops. Exactly. Yeah, no, and that's kind of what I'm thinking too. 150 to 200. Once you start getting up over 200, it's time, in my opinion, to look at starting to hire another technician and reworking the routes, that kind of thing. Welcome to you all that are tuning in right now, joining in. Salvador, how's it going again? Kristen also said it's easy. Okay, yeah, I read that. My husband's pushing like 265 this month, and he's so what? Yeah. I know how it is. Tell him to hang in there. You all will, speaking from a former Terminix technician to another, it'll be worth it in the end. I promise. I'm to the point now where if I run over 150 stops, I'm like, I'm not doing this shit next year, because it's 100 degrees every day right now in Texas, and I've had a little chafing rash issue happen in my thigh area, and just this past week I was literally like in my truck cussing at myself. I was like, you should have been hired this damn technician. This is bullshit. Like, I was just, having one of those little spoiled owner meltdowns for a second. Because man, I was hating it. That rash was killing me. The answer to this varies so much, for sure. It much depends on you and your management, how efficient your route is. Huge. Exactly how tight it is. Exactly. You're pretty much saying exactly what I'm saying, Salvador. We're like two great minds think alike. How's it going, Clarence Kirkpatrick? Do you put customers on contracts? For our month, so we have customers that pay 1 year in advance up front, and then we have customers who will actually just pay, we call it a monthly subscription model. Some customers will get confused by that because this is a newer way of doing it in the pest control industry. It's starting to kind of really gain some traction across the industry now. What we do is, with that, you're going to get the better deal if you pay for the whole year up front. For example, if a customer is going to be charged, say, $150 per quarterly service, right? Instead of charging $150 for the first service and $150 per quarter going forward, or if you have an initial fee, $200 for the first and then $150 per quarter going forward, we literally just break it up into, $50 times 12 months. And that's $600 for the year. Usually for psychological, sales and marketing purposes, we'll say like $599 instead of $600. So we'll say $599, $595, something like that for the year. Or you can pay $149, $159, whatever number you want to set that initial fee as, plus tax, and then you're going to pay $49, $59, whatever number per month going forward on our subscription model. That covers your quarterly service, that covers your callbacks if you have any live activity inside the home in between services. And if you do end up wanting to cancel the service, you just need to call us before the end of the month, because we auto charge everyone. We have people on the 15th, but now we're starting to, anyone that we've been selling the past few months now, we're putting them all on the 1st, which makes it kind of make more sense from the cancellation standpoint. If you are to cancel, you need to let us know, obviously, before the end of the month. That way we can get your auto pay canceled out before the 1st of the month. If you let us know before after the 1st of the month, then of course you're going to be charged. You'll still be covered up through that last month, and then we'll go ahead and, cancel out your next month's auto pay. So yes and no. Like, obviously, if you pay for the whole year, you're locked in for the whole year. But if you do the subscription model, then you're not really tied down or anything like that. It gives the customers that want the freedom, if that makes sense. We have guys who vary based on the tech. Have one tech who can knock out 15 in 8 hours, no problem. Hustles hard and loves to grind. Have another who struggles with 13, another 12. Each is different for sure. My fastest tech my fastest tech just asked us if we can reduce his minimum time per customer to 23 minutes, since he's sometimes having to granulate and put a bit of a show. Oh, you have a 30-minute minimum. So, yeah, I'm interested to hear too, Salvador. Sorry for the typos, no problem. Getting late out here. I'm interested to know, what is the average size of the homes you all service out there? I believe you're in California, if I remember right. And by the way, were you the one that I think might have messaged me a while back on Facebook? Facebook is so weird, because if so, I was going to apologize. I just seen it. They have the whole message request where you have to actually go in to see if someone requests to message you, and I never see those. And I think I saw your name pop up in there recently. Just wonder if that was you. It's not that I'm ignoring or anything. I just literally never see those because I don't get notifications about, message requests. But yeah, I'm interested, like I said, as to what your average, if you were to put an average, obviously, for your service size of a home, is it 2,500 square foot, 2,000, 3,000, that kind of thing. And for me, with my technician, I have kind of told him too that it's not that I've encouraged speed with him. I've told him along the way. I think I mentioned this in a previous stream where I was mentioning, I literally told him, because he was kind of going back and forth, just a lot of wasted steps at the end of the day. And I told him, hey, slow down for a second, because he was doing a good job, great job, but he was doing just a lot of just back and forth, over and over, just way too many steps. And I told him, I was like, you got two hands, right? Yeah. Which hand are you dominant with? Right hand. Okay. Take your sprayer, because we use the, like most people anymore, the Flow Zone, battery powered backpacks. I told him, I was like, take your granular, because we use the Puffy D. Like I said, I know I mentioned this in another stream, so I'm sorry for anyone that's already seen this, but say this is your foundation right here. I said, take the Puffy D with your granulars and take your spray along the foundation, because it's so quick. If you know anything about the Flow Zone, it's very quick. I was like, spray that foundation, get your, roughly 1 to 3 feet or whatever out in the grass as well, and then take your Puffy D and because he was also thinking the granular had to go up against the foundation. That's where he was kind of doing back and forth. So he would spray and then come and granulate over it. And I was like, no, definitely don't do that. I was like, one, there's obviously reasons not to do that, especially if you're spraying a repellent. You spray a repellent, you put a bait, you're really not doing nothing. But I was like, spray, bait at the same time, and just take one giant lap around the house. Then all you got to do is go back around with your Webster pole and your little, can of wasp freeze or whatever the case may be, and, take care of wasp nests, mud dauber nests, spiders, that kind of thing. Boom, boom, you're done with the stop, usually within anywhere between 12 to 20 minutes primarily. Multitask them tools, Webster and Granulate. Yeah, and Webster and Granulate's another one too, exactly. Especially when it's below freezing and you can't spray, which we don't really deal with too many of them days here in Dallas. But I know up north, that's a lot of what those guys will do too. They'll, granulate and dust, or granulate and Webster, or Webster and dust, whatever the case may be. And that's where if you have utility pants, like carpenter pants or something, you can put, the duster, your other, duster that you've converted into a granulator, you put that in there. I mean, you could really do it all in one, well, I guess still two, because you'd have to Webster still. But, a lot of times you can get it done in 2 trips around the house. Varies pretty widely, but I would say 1,400, 1,800. Okay. Plenty of 5 to 6 bedrooms, but often 2 stories, exactly. Kind of the same here. I would say mine is slightly bigger, not much though. I would say our average is about 2,000 to 2,500 roughly, maybe 24, but pretty similar type of deal in terms of they're usually pretty easy. So I will say, just from my experience, and I'm wondering too, Salvador, if you were a technician at some point. I know from my experience as a technician, if the average is around 2,000 square foot or less, or like you said, even if they are bigger, they're still kind of easy to kind of go around. 30 minutes is quite a bit of time, to be honest. Even at Terminix, they had ours time set at 20. They started out as they weren't timing at all. Then they said, hey, you guys need to be at every stop for 25 minutes or more, period. And then before I left, they were saying, hey, it needs to be a 25-minute average. So we literally would print out our schedules and keep track of what time we clocked into that stop, what time we clocked out. Was it 29 minutes? If so, write a little +4. And then the next one, if it was like 20, we would say -5, and just keep track of it all day to make sure we finish like right at that 25-minute average. It was crazy. But point being, like, even with 25 minutes, it was like a lot of time. Now, I will say, if your technicians are paid based on like production pay, I still totally understand having a time like requirement, just because if you don't, inevitably somebody's gonna abuse the system and just do what we call a splash and dash treatment, right? And you know, all it takes is one person to ruin it for everybody. So I totally get doing like a requirement. In my opinion, I always said, if I were to put a requirement, now I'm paying my technician hourly plus commission, but if I were to do like a production type of pay, I would probably set our limit at like 20 minutes. I said 15. I was kind of back and forth between 15 to 20, and I just felt 20 minutes was pretty spot on, just because, from, again, just my experience here with the homes that I've dealt with, thousands of homes now at this point. 20 minutes feels like a pretty decent time for sure. At least, like I said, just in my opinion and my experience. Worked with Clara for a couple of years. I actually think we have PestPack notify us if they do less than 25. That's our minimum, actually. Yeah, 19 to 20% production currently. Goal to move them up, but some are making pretty decent money. So not in a rush, yeah. Yeah, one thing that I wish I knew, speaking of that series, that I actually need to do another video on at some point, because I haven't added much content to that series lately. Things that I wish I knew when I started my pest control company, or any company for that matter, is payroll tax. Ugh, God, that shit is not cheap. It's not like break your back, but it's just bullshit. I mean, man, we're getting taxed. I'm not even gonna go there. I could go off on the deep end right now on that, but yeah, we're just being taxed everywhere. It's insanity. The fact that you have to pay tax to pay somebody money. Whatever. And yeah, that was me who Facebook messaged you. Okay. Was just mentioning something you probably already did. Your due diligence on just, okay. Yeah, no, I'll have to take a look at it for sure. Your CPA and lawyer signed off on writing off your full mortgage just buy you business using just a garage and a room. I don't know if it makes a difference. We rent instead of own. And they didn't, They didn't write off I forget what it came out to, because they asked me what the square footage of our home was. They asked what rooms were dedicated to, like, do you have an office in there? Which of course I do. And this one I actually got 2 offices technically, because now we're setting my wife up a business, quote unquote, that she doesn't even know about at the moment. But we got 2 offices now. Now this is for this house. Now that house that we just moved out of, that we just had, 1 office, and then of course you had the garage aspect of it as well. Let's see. From experience, it's safer to prorate it and only write off the percentage of the home. Okay, so no, I think we're talking the same thing then. Mention it because lawyers use that as use that to try to pierce the corporate veil during lawsuits. Yeah, no, so I think we're actually referring to like the same thing then. Because what they ended up doing was, how did it go down? Like I said, I actually just got my tax paperwork. I don't know where the hell I put it. I might have put it in the closet. I actually just got all that back recently, finally. They asked me, what's the square footage of the home? What would you say is the amount of square footage that you use for the business, like for an office and this and that? And I told them, I actually told them a percentage because I was like, fuck, I don't know. What do you want me to do? Pull out a freaking tape measure and measure it? So I was like, I don't know, probably somewhere around like 20% or I don't remember what exact percentage I told them, but they ended up putting down like, not the entire home or anything like that, if that makes sense. They pretty much just factored in what the garage space, like half of the garage space, because it was 2-car garage, half of the garage space, and then the office, if that makes sense. So like, they didn't say rent was $2,000, which at that home it was. It ended up being, I don't know what the exact dollar amount came out to, but I would say that it came out to, a few $100s a month or something like that is what it came out to. I'm interested though, what you mean by prorate it. And of course, I see we still got like 4 or 5 of you guys tuning in. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to shout it out in the chat. I didn't realize that marker is making my pants filthy. It looks like I've been working on a freaking car. If you guys have any questions or anything, do not hesitate to shout it out in the comments below. If you're liking the stream so far, just do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button. It just lets me know and lets YouTube know more than anything that you like this type of content, and they'll show my face that is more fit for a radio than a screen to you all, if you all find, any of the information valuable or anything like that. So far, just to kind of recap what we've been talking about, which, gosh, I can't believe we've already been going live for almost 2 hours now. What we've been going over tonight is, man, we've gone over a lot. We've gone over how we set up lead magnets to drive business very quickly. As a matter of fact, we've talked about, how much work do we think our technicians can handle in terms of regs. Again, kind of like me and Salvador were kind of going back and forth a second about on. That's a very loaded question, just because, of course, like Salvador mentioned, like I was mentioning, how dense is your route? Do you have an average drive time of, would you say 2 to 10 minutes per house? Do you have an average drive time of 15 to 30 minutes per house? What's the drive time from the office, or if you let your technicians take their trucks home, from the technician's house or the office to the route? Like, it's definitely a lot of moving variables that go into that. What else have we talked about this evening? How much, or rather how little we spend on marketing right now. I spend more hours than dollars in terms of our marketing at the moment. What else do we talk about? We can go through the chat and see what all we've talked about. Let's see. Do I run my ads all year round? No. Like we mentioned, we don't run ads all year round. We actually run ads very little, which is always, I notice, very surprising to those of you that are new to the channel. So many of you are surprised about how little money that I actually spend on advertising. Like I said, so far this year, we've only spent, or not this year, so far in the last 90 days, we've spent less than $70 on ads. We just don't really spend that much money on ads. I want to, don't get me wrong. I love ads. I know how to really utilize ads, like I mentioned on this channel a lot, and I make sure to mention to my wife a lot as well. Had we not increased our lifestyle too quickly, I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. Prorate is probably not the right term. Basically, I mean, if the mortgage is 2,000, company uses 50. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that, like I said, that sounds like we're on the same page. I might, in a video that you watch, I might have misconstrued, what I was referring to with that. If so, I do apologize. I'll definitely, if you know what video it is, send it to me. That way I can take a look at it, because if there is something in there, I actually want to go in there and edit that video just to make sure that, people don't kind of get the wrong idea. That's the last thing that I want anybody to have, is like the wrong idea about anything in the business, because business is hard enough as it is, right? So I don't want to potentially make that harder or anything. But of course, if you all, like I said, I see we got a couple of you all tuning in right now. If you have any question, like a couple new of you, that is, tuning in right now. So we had like 6 to 8 of you in here. If you have any questions or anything about anything, it can be about business. It can be about balancing, the life and business, if you believe in that whatsoever. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to shout it out in the chat. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, I forgot too. I have a list of questions pulled up from YouTube, because we've had a lot of you new tuning in lately, which is just amazing. I love to see this community growing. One common question, I'm not even going to go with the common questions first. What I'll do is we just had a question a few hours ago from @34JWills. He asked, I saw something from somebody. Did you start going door to door before having a logo design? I know first impressions are important, but I want to build a customer base. And I also want to ask how you obtained a termite certification. In the state of Georgia, they want you to shadow someone for 2 years. So if you see this, which I'll probably kind of cut this into like a video or a short, or maybe even upload a different video or short for this answer specifically. But if you're watching right now, every state is different, but Georgia sounds kind of similar to Texas, where you do have to have the experience under a certified applicator of that category. For us, it's not 2 years. You would have to be 1 year as a technician, and then you could become a certified applicator. But usually for most technicians, it ends up being 1 to 2 years. For Georgia, it sounds like it may be, like you said, the full 2 years. So in that case, you would need to either hire somebody, or contract out somebody who has that you can, quote unquote shadow, or B, of course, go work for another pest control company until you can get that certification on the termite side. And in terms of door knocking, like I mentioned on this channel a lot, I have achieved everything I've achieved in my business without doing any door knocking whatsoever. And now, as for the logo thing, do the logo. It's super easy. If you all need help in terms of creating a logo, let me know. I can show you how we created our logo. My wife actually created our logo. It's pretty basic, obviously, but it's actually a lot easier, especially now with the tools with AI. With AI tools, you can practically have a logo, boom, created within a minute. But if you use the tool Canva, it can be pretty easy to make it as well. So if you need help with that, it's very similar, in all honesty, to making these thumbnails and stuff that I make for the YouTube videos and stuff. But yeah, if you see this 34JWills, I'm actually going to reply to just answered this in our live stream tonight. Reply. Let's see. It was the one where you mentioned it was the one where you broke down your expenses. I think you mentioned you write off $3K or something like that for house. It would be kind of fun to make an ad mastermind group to work up a few ads as a group and test them. Yeah, no, actually, that's not a bad idea. Are you in either our Facebook group or our Discord, by the way, Salvador? Which, by the way, if any of you all that are watching right now, I know, like, Kristen, you're in there for sure. Anyone that's not in our Discord or Facebook group, those are totally free to join. Links for those are in the description box below. I don't charge for any, like, like Salvador uses the word mastermind. For some reason, that word mastermind has turned into paid group, apparently, for some reason. There doesn't really seem to be any free masterminds. If you want to call ours a mastermind, you can call it that, but it's just a free group that we have for Facebook and Discord as well. You're in the Facebook one. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Which I will actually be very more active in the Facebook one. For those of you that don't know, I've been in Zuckerberg jail, not completely. For some reason, they literally limited my access to post anything in groups. I can react, this and that, but I can't post comments, even in my own group that I created until I think tomorrow or Sunday, simply for just putting a GIF comment that Facebook actually, it wasn't even like a third-party GIF app or anything. It was within the Facebook app, so whatever. But yeah, I will be active in there again as well. Let's see, would be a way to get larger data on ad copies. Exactly. Yeah, and photos too. Correct, it's 2 years here. That's right, Kristen's in Georgia. So yeah, like I said, if 34J Will sees this part of the stream, that is definitely the route that you'd pretty much have to go. And every state is different too, of course. And Mr. Crumpman85 said, I can't get my GBP, which is Google Business Profile, running. They suspended it for some reason. They never really tell you why, which is true, that I can figure out. I've tried to delete it and start again after weeks of trying to correct the last one, but I can't start a new one. I did not. I actually kind of replied to him already, but I didn't realize he said that he actually deleted that first one and tried to. That's going to be tricky. So yeah, if you ever have an issue with your Google Business Profile, guys, the last thing you want to do is delete that profile and start a new one. If you delete it and try to go start a new one, Google literally takes that as, hey, you caught me red-handed, but I think I got you. Like, that's pretty much how they think you're doing things. When in reality, it's just that their systems in place are horrible. Like 1990s, early 2000s type of processes to help business owners out. It makes you think that, okay, well, this one's obviously fucked, right? Like, I gotta start a new one, when no, do not do that. As annoying as it is, and as tedious and long and drug out as it is, it will be worth it in the end to just harass Google support as much as you can. Again, I know how it is. When we opened our Plano listing, our company, of course, is named Preferred Pest Management. Little did I know there was literally a pest control company in the same exact building named Prevent Pest Management. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, they weren't even showing up on maps at all. They've been in business for like ever and only got like 2 reviews. Like, company that just like is like non-existent in terms of any type of online presence. But when I went to submit that new listing, it took literally about 6 weeks to get that listing verified, even though I got the card in the mail, all that stuff. They were just giving me a time, and it ended up being because they thought that, this was Prevent Pest Management trying to make like a duplicate profile. So, yeah, anytime they see anything related to duplicate profile, you're it's gonna be a nightmare. But just stay on top of it. It sounds like you've already done what you've done for Mr. Crumpman 85. It sounds like you've already deleted it. So what's done is done. You just gotta stay on top of them and just explain what happened. Mine was suspended the day I created it. I was able to appeal it. Yeah, and that's the thing is, for some people, it's, even with the appeal process, sometimes it's super quick. Other times it's ridiculously slow. It can be a pain in the ass, to say the least. Let's see. And I already addressed Spencer's comment at the beginning of the show. I guess we'll go with this one too, because I do have a lot of common questions about this, like with starting, specifically from those of you that are like looking to start a pest control business. Clay Brandon 5941 2 days ago asked, do you do mentorships? Like I always tell you guys on this channel, like the whole point of me doing the YouTube channel is more so just to give all of this content out for free. Like, I'm not expecting, anything in return or anything like that. But we get this question, like, I wouldn't say over and over, but enough, like probably at least once every couple of weeks, to the point to where I just made a rinky-dinky little website. It's called The Digital Tradesman. It is in my YouTube links or whatever. If anyone ends up wanting that, you can, submit a request or whatever. There's like a form on there where you can submit a request if you wish. I actually have one of you guys literally call my preferred pest management phone number, wanting to do that, have a 1 hour consultation or whatever. Like I said, I mean, all this stuff, I'm not like, the thing is you guys, like I say, I stress it, you really don't need to pay me or anybody to be like a mentor or anything, at least in my opinion. Because like I said, I post everything on this YouTube channel, on my TikTok, on Instagram Reels. Like, I post everything on here for free. Like, anything that I know, like, I'm sure there's I know for a fact there's videos on this channel that don't do that well, because like it's a lot of things that people aren't really thinking they need right now, because like a lot of you all are like very early in your pest control business or whatever business you may be starting, like a service business or whatever. But I know at some point you are gonna want that content. Like, you're gonna need it. Like, especially when it comes to like website or website operations, SEO, all that stuff, or the Google ads or Facebook ad, or Loomly. Like I'll post random, not random, but videos, or almost kind of like reviews, tutorials of different apps and stuff that I find that help our business. They don't really do well on the channel whenever I post them, but I still want to put them there and put them in the specific playlist. That way you guys can access that kind of as like a pest control business, I don't know, like a class or I don't know what word I'm looking for really, but I know there's people that'll try to charge you for all that information, and you really don't need it, in all honesty. There's enough people out here that are posting the content on YouTube. Now, maybe you have to search through hours of content to find what you're looking for. Sure, I mean, we're posting multiple times a day a lot of times, and we're for sure posting multiple times per week at the minimum. Over time, of course, that content piles up. So I understand, like you asked here, if you just want to kind of fast track, hey, let me just ask you the questions that I need the answers to, and me kind of answer them the best of my abilities. But if you have the time to just go through and take the notes or follow along with the video, whatever, you really don't need to pay me or anybody. But like I said, I did end up making that website. It's in my YouTube links. It'll say like get one-on-one training or digital tradesman, something like that. You can click that link if you wish, and it may take me a few days or even a week or so to see if you submit a form or anything, because it's like I said, it's not a business for me. My business is my pest control business, my investing, my this and that. I'm not one of these YouTubers who are trying to like make a business being a coach or anything like that. If I was, I would go create a massive WordPress website for it and shoot out a bunch of ads and constantly put YouTube ads and stuff like that. Like, no, I'm not looking to do that. I mean, it's just not my thing, really. But, I mean, if you guys are wanting it, I'm not going to tell you, like, no, I'm not going to, mentor. I refuse to mentor, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, because there's times I wish I had a mentor. But I guess sometimes it's just, like, I don't know if it's, like, me being too humble or what, but, like, I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like since I can give all this out for free like I do, hopefully that kind of makes sense. I don't know. It's just, if you guys want it, it's there. If not, you don't need it anyways. So, let's see. Do we have any other questions? I don't know why I exited out of the questions. Let's see. Do we have any questions in the chat? None right now. I see we got 4 of you tuning in right now. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the stream. I see we're already over 2 hours again. We're at like 2.5 hours right now. We'll probably be wrapping up soon. I didn't realize it's already after 12:30 where I'm at. But if you have any questions, I'll probably stay on and wait for your all's questions for, a few more minutes. And if you all don't have any more questions, again, it can be about pest control. It can be about the pest control business. It can be about how do I handle, my day-to-day life, with the business and businesses and stuff like that. Any questions that you all may have, just let me know. Otherwise, here in the next few minutes, we'll probably go ahead and look to start wrapping up. I actually have a pretty light day tomorrow. I have a skunk job. I haven't had one of those in a while. Kristen said I'm about to pass out. It'll take me a while before I quote-unquote pass out. Something about doing these YouTube videos and everything else, it kind of gets you like, not like you're high on caffeine or anything, but it takes a little bit to wind down post-stream. Usually it takes me about an hour from the time, like when I got off the stream last night, it took me about 50 minutes to, shower, wind down, all that type of stuff. So I probably won't be asleep until at least 2 a.m. tonight, and that's Central Time. 2 a.m. here, almost 2 a.m. Yes. Oh yeah, you're in Eastern Time. That's right. Let's see. I saw this too. This isn't a question necessarily. Eric R500 commented on one of my shorts about the mosquito chemical we use. I don't know if Eric R500 is a subscriber or not, but he said Scion UVX /Demand CS, great for mosquitoes. And let's see, I mentioned him, I got a sample of the Scion, but I only got to use it once because it's a sample. Is it expensive? He said, yes, it's a little pricey, but the results he's had are amazing. 75-day residual. And I asked how long has he been using it. He said about a year now. I was using Demand prior to that. I'm in Arizona. We get mosquitoes in monsoon bad. Thanks for your great content. Oh, and I appreciate that, of course, as always. Just gave a heart for that, of course, because I always love your all's comments that I see. Yeah, no, I'm interested to see if you all have used that, first of all. Thanks for all the knowledge. Oh, yeah, no, most definitely. Most definitely. No, thank you all for tuning in. I know, Trevin, you've been in here for a while now, so I appreciate you all tuning in as always. I do this stuff for you all at the end of the day. It helps me a little bit too, because I learn a thing or two from you all usually during the streams and even in the videos with the comments and everything. Like, I did not know, actually, speaking of which, that this Scion UVX has a 75-day residual apparently. If that's the case, even if it's only, say, a 45 or 60-day residual, that can change things for sure. I'm gonna have to do some research on that chemical. I'm gonna get it pulled up in a sidebar just so I don't forget. Because we had been using OneGuard along with Lambda, or not along with, we'd use OneGuard or we would use Lambda. And in all honesty, during the easiest time of mosquito, I say easiest, like the beginning of mosquito season, like in April, May, unless if it's an abnormally bad year, April, May, sometimes even June, we can get away with using, stuff even as cheap as like Bifin IT. Usually if we're going to use something like Bifin IT, which is rare, but if we do use it in those months, we usually mix it with a little bit of, what is it? Maybe, is it Striker? I believe Striker is what we'll mix it with. I forget off the top of my head. It's been a while. But usually our primary go-to is either Lambda 9.7, which is pretty much Demand CS, or OneGuard. But if Scion UVX has better results than OneGuard, we might have to use that over OneGuard in the future. Let's see, seeing if there was anything else in here. And do we have anything in the chat? Nothing so far. Let's see. And also another point, because I saw someone commented on the post about when do you guys tend to watch the channel the most. One, I see most of you guys like to watch the videos and live streams, usually if we do them later in terms of like upload time or going live, usually anytime after, at the absolute earliest, 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, evening, up to, about this time of night, usually around 1 a.m. or so Central Time, or 2 a.m. or so Eastern. Everybody will start to kind of slowly, obviously, go to bed and whatnot. Unless if you're like in the UK, I know we got some of you all out in the UK and stuff. But yeah, so that's why we've been doing live streams later. Plus, I have the home to myself this week, which has helped with that as well. Let's see, I thought there was something here. Let me see. Oh yeah, what I was going to mention too is, because Brian, he's in our Discord group chat as well, he mentioned that he does like listening to audio as well as video, which reminds me to let you guys know I'm trying to be better about, once my videos upload, the ones that I believe would both work well as like audio and video format. I'm trying to remember to transcribe those. There's a whole process that goes into that, but pull the audio from the video file and upload it to our podcast as well. If you all didn't know, of course, we do have a podcast, and that podcast, I believe, is, what is it called? The Real Life Entrepreneurship Podcast. It's on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the main ones, essentially. I don't know if it's on the Google, because I know Google has, like, their own as well. It may be on Google as well. Let's see. I was just like, man, how you still going? Oh, you talking about the stream? How are we still going? Yeah. Yeah, no, it's easier whenever my wife and the 2 little ones have been out of town most of the week. They left, Saturday or Sunday? So they've been out of town literally for about a week now. They're going to be back Sunday evening, I believe. So, yeah. Plus, I've always been kind of a night owl anyways. I hate getting up early in the morning, usually for a period of time every year to kind of reinforce my discipline, usually when I start getting kind of fat like I am right now, or at least what I consider, myself to be fat. I'll usually kind of go back to my roots of discipline. Those of you that don't know Andy Frisella, definitely look him up as well. He runs that podcast, Real AF. He's the owner of Supplement Superstores, First Form, like 7 or 8 other businesses from what I can remember. But he also created the program 75 Hard. It is a very good program to build your discipline. And I always go back. I don't do 75. I probably should, in all honesty, but I don't do 75 hard every year. But I will at least go back to the roots of like making sure I'm working out, making sure I'm sticking to a diet. You know, I force myself to do stuff I don't want to do, like get up early. That's one of it. One of the things, I'll force myself to get up at like 5 a.m. and I'll usually do my readings, do my prayers, this and that and the other. And but yeah, that's kind of a random tangent. Just I was referring to how I'm kind of a night owl, and let's see, if straight into the sub price helps close rates. We don't do contracts though, so not sure how that'll work. Al was thinking of raising the initial. If straight into the sub price helps close. Oh, are you referring to when we were talking about our yearly pricing, how it's a better deal than if the customer decides they want to do like month to month billing? Is that what you're referring to, Salvador? I got a feeling that's what you're referring to, but I might be wrong. Because he said, if straight into the sub price helps close rates, we don't do contracts. So, because yeah, with the yearly, it's not a contract. I mean, because it's, let's see. Yeah, I think you skipped my post above. Oh, yeah. Logged in towards the end of you saying you stop charging an initial but instead do 50 a month from the start. Might test that. We have been doing 89. Okay, so no, yeah, let me just reiterate that real quick, because I think, like you said, since you kind of caught it towards the end, I'll kind of just reiterate it real quick. So say we have a customer who their price was going to be, like we were talking about earlier, you know, 150 a quarter, right? They, instead of charging per service, all that stuff, we've done away with that. We use it as a last resort. We tell them straight up, you're going to be on our call as needed pricing, because let's be real, those are the customers that always like to, you know, screw you around when it comes to, well, I'm not going to be in town, or I don't really want the service right now, blah, 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 blah. You know, those are always those customers, right? So we've pretty much done away with that. So with that, what we'll tell people is you've got 2 options. One is the best deal. Say that their rate comes out to $50 a month over 12 months. That'd be usually $600, you know, but we phrase it as $599 or $595, whatever you want to do. You can get this for $599 plus tax, because we have to charge tax here in Texas on that for the year. Or, and this is what I think you were catching towards the end there, or you can pay the $149 plus tax for the first service. Then, because that's covering the price of that first service, right? Then you would pay, not on a contract, $50 plus tax per month going forward. So, yes, technically they're locked in for a year when they go with the $599 plus tax option, but with this option, this here is the subscription is what we call it. I feel like I spelled subscription wrong. Subscription. Maybe not. I don't know. It's getting late. I don't care. This is what we call our subscription plan. So we tell them we got two options when it comes to our quarterly service plan. You can either pay for the year, which would be $5.99 plus tax, or because we understand not everybody has $600 laying around, we can do $149 plus tax to get started, and then $50 a month. And then where it gets creative is when we're running our lead magnet, posts, ads, whatever the case may be. Instead of saying that that's $49 or $100, man, just gave away the whole damn sale. Instead of it being $149, we would say it's only $49 for your first service. When yeah, I lost myself for a second. It's only $49 when you get started with us right now. So it'd be $49 and then $50 a month. Or, you could also even use this up here as well. These are actually interchangeable because it works for both scenarios, right? 49, 50, what you're saying to them is, regardless of which way they go, they're paying $5.99, or I guess in this example, technically $5.98 for the year. Or not for the year, because this one's subscription, but $5.99 for the year, but it comes out to the same. But, of course, you know which ad they're coming from, whether they're coming from this ad or this ad. So, if they came from this one, you would just be pitching this. You wouldn't even worry about going after this. Or you could, because we broke that down as well. If you didn't see that, we broke this down to where, hey, maybe instead we're only going to do $4.95 for the first year, especially for customers that tend to be kind of cuckoo about that they only want a one-time service. We try as hard as humanly possible to avoid the one-time service. So does that make sense? Let's see. That's a bit different than we've done. Might try that pitch. Makes sense. I can see why that would close. Awesome. Yeah. Glad to help, as always. And if you need to, you could take a screenshot. I don't know if you'll remember just by looking at these numbers. I know it's hard for me to write everything out, like a script and everything on here. But, yeah, I mean, once you do it a couple of times, once you kind of phrase it like that, you'll kind of get better. Plus, it makes quote-unquote scripting almost non-existent. It makes it very, very easy. Like I said, at that point, am I going to say that we close everybody? No, hell no. Because, you'll still have people that object over the fact that, oh, well, that comes out to X amount per service. And, I've gotten quotes for X amount. And then that's where, of course, you start going into, well, at the end of the day, are you looking for the best company or are you looking for the cheapest company? Because you can't have it both ways at the end of the day. Now, if you're the cheapest company, you're not going to have to worry about that, obviously. We are not, usually. Rarely ever are we the cheapest company. Occasionally they'll be like, yeah, we got quoted for both. And I'm like, God damn, I thought my prices were good. In terms of good for making money for a company. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this stream. It's always great doing this stuff with you guys. I appreciate all of y'all that were tuning in tonight. I see we're down to just one of y'all now. One last person hanging in there this evening. So like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed everything. If you have any questions or anything after this goes from a live stream to a video, just let me know in the chat below. Or, of course, you can always reach out in our Discord group chat and our Facebook group. Like I said, I'll be back and active in the Facebook group this weekend, probably, I think, Sunday at some point, if I recall. And yeah, like I said, for those of you that were asking about doing consultations and stuff like that, like I said, link for that is in our YouTube links. And then, by the way, if y'all aren't following me on Discord yet, our link to Discord, I'm starting to put that, or Discord. If you're not following me on TikTok yet, we're putting the link for that in the description box of videos now as well, because we're trying to grow to 1,000 followers over there. That way we can go live on TikTok and YouTube at the same time, and hopefully just continue to reach, you know, more and more people that are looking to start their own pest control business, because it's definitely something that we can all do. There's no shortage of money and customers and bugs for sure on this world at the end of the day. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Hopefully you all had a great week. Hopefully you all stayed safe, especially those of you in these southern states where it's been brutally hot this week. Stay safe out there if you're working tomorrow. Stay hydrated, stay safe, stay safe, stay safe. And I will see you guys in the next video or live stream or our shorts or TikTok or Reels on Instagram, wherever you see us the most. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next one.